Okay, welcome back to New Method Live. This is take 3 of technical difficulties. Why? Because it wouldn't be a Tuesday without technical difficulties. Today we're talking about fatty liver, and fatty liver is a dangerous disease because it has no symptoms, which means you may have it and not even know it. And if you do have it, do you understand how dangerous it could be? I have so many patients who come in and tell me, yeah, I was told I have fatty liver, but, is it really a big deal? Yes, it's a big deal. 100 million people in the United States have fatty liver disease. Are you one of those people? And how do you know if you have it? And what can you do about it? That's what we're going to talk about today. So, this is how you reach me and my team because I get this question all the time. If you're watching us live, let us know. Drop the word live. Ask a question. It doesn't have to be about fatty liver. Just let us know that you're here. If you're watching on replay, let us know by dropping the word replay. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're listening to the podcast, I think I'm wearing it's gray or white sweater. My hair looks amazing. And other than that, you're not missing anything. And of course, if you're already following us on Instagram or TikTok, awesome. If you're not, what are you waiting for? And don't forget to share this with the people that you love so that they can use this to become the game changers in their life. So, before we go any further, I always like to start with definitions. First, let's talk about the liver. Like, what does the liver even do? Like, who cares if it's fatty, right? So, the liver is a large, super busy organ with so many responsibilities that keep your body healthy. It's at the top right of your abdomen, about the size of a football. And think of the liver as your own personal chemical processing plant. It has some really important jobs, like detoxing. Your liver is a natural filter. It's constantly purifying what's happening in your body, removing toxic substances that are either produced by the body or from the environment. It helps with digestion. It produces bile. Bile is a fluid that helps with protein breakdown and fat breakdown into smaller digestible pieces. It stores nutrients, your vitamin A, your D, your E, your K, your B12. It's all stored in there and releases it as needed. It helps metabolism. It regulates fat, proteins, carb metabolism, basically breaks down food to use as energy. And it's a huge player in immunity. It contains immune cells that help protect the body from infections, remove bacteria. It helps blood clotting, and you need that. If you get a scrape or a cut and you heal, that's your liver. It removes old blood cells, which is really important because you're constantly refreshing your blood cells. So your liver is doing a lot of jobs at once to keep you alive, right? So without it, nah, you wouldn't be here. So it's a really super important organ. So now what's a fatty liver? A fatty liver, as the name suggests, is when some of the cells in your liver, instead of being liver cells, now they're replaced with fat cells. So there's fat deposited in your liver. Imagine it like, a slice of bacon before you cook it has like those white stripes of fat. That's what your liver starts to look like, right? Pretty gross. Anyway, it doesn't sound good because it seems intuitively that this super important organ that I just talked to you about should be in the best possible shape, right? Not have all this fat around it. Yet millions of people have it. So what does that mean? What is fatty liver disease, right? By the way, there's two kinds. There's alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is related to alcohol. That's not the one we're talking about now. What we're talking about is NAFLD, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So for those of you out there who are like, hey, I don't really drink a lot of alcohol, my liver's probably fine. No, the one we're talking about today is actually not the one related to alcohol. It's the fatty liver that has nothing to do with alcohol, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD. So it's more common in people who are overweight, have diabetes, high cholesterol. It has no symptoms, and it can cause some serious liver damage. And that's what we're talking about today. So how could something so intense have no symptoms? Like, how does that make sense, E? Like, I'm not going to feel it. So here's how it works. When you have fatty liver, the fat cells in and around the liver can't do their job as well. It can't do the detoxing, can't do the cleaning because fat cells are not liver cells. They don't have the capacity to do it. But during this time, when you have some fat around it, you won't have symptoms because the liver is a really robust organ. It can keep doing its job for a long time when it's damaged. So it keeps trucking along, keeps detoxing, keeps doing the things while the damage is happening. So most people don't feel anything until the disease gets really, really bad when the liver can't keep up anymore. Now, that could take years. And worse is that even the blood test, your liver enzyme test, can be normal for the same reason because liver enzymes show damage, but you could be having this fat cell and the liver's not showing distress signs for a really long time. The liver gets fattier and fattier the entire time. Everything will look normal on your liver blood test. And eventually, over time, your liver enzymes might go up. That's the distress signal, the liver saying like, hey, we have some damage here. We might want to jump in here. But even with that, even when the liver enzymes start going up, your liver is still going to keep doing its job. So even though your liver enzyme, you feel fine, your liver enzymes go up, you still feel fine. Even as your liver struggles to keep going again and again over the years, you will still feel fine. Eventually, the liver enzymes keep going higher and higher. The damage gets worse and worse. The liver tries to repair itself and eventually scars over. When that happens, that's called cirrhosis. And once the liver reaches cirrhosis, that cannot be reversed. So by the time you find out that your liver has a significant issue, it's pretty far gone, right? So you really have to pay attention to what's going on to see, like, is it possible to have fatty liver? So to do that, you have to know, how do you even get fatty liver? How do you get it? I don't drink alcohol. It's not the alcoholic kind. So what is it? And the answer is, I know you're going to hate me for this because that's always the answer. It's your nutrition, specifically carb overload. So here's how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to work like this. You need glucose to stay alive. So you eat your carbs, you eat your sugars, everything gets converted to glucose. That's your body's main source of energy. We eat the glucose, we use what we need, and what we don't need, we store it in a form called glycogen. And then when you need it, we go to the glycogen stores and we use it. All good. However, many of you listening here, you guys eat more than you need. You need more complex carbs, more glucose than you need. So now the body's like, all right, well, what do I do with this? I can't keep storing it in glycogen. I don't need it. I don't need that much of it. So I have to store it in a different way. And it stores it, it's converted into fatty acids in a process called lipogenesis, meaning making fat. So these fatty acids are stored as triglycerides. Triglycerides might sound familiar. If you get your cholesterol panel and you see high triglycerides, those of you out there have high triglycerides, this is why. It's your body trying to manage all these carbs you're giving it. So you keep eating your carbs and your body keeps turning it into fat and turning it into triglycerides. And now it stores this fat. It has to store it places. And it stores it all over your body, including your liver. Keep eating the carbs, the liver keeps getting fatty. And there you have it, non-alcoholic fatty liver. So it comes from your nutrition, from nutrition overload, too much. Over time, if more and more of the liver gets inflamed, it becomes something called NASH, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. That's the next level after fatty liver. And then the liver gets damaged and the inflammation continues. The liver tries to repair itself. It forms scar tissue, and that eventually becomes cirrhosis. And that's when the damage is not reversible. So you start with non-alcoholic fatty liver, and then it becomes NASH, and then it becomes cirrhosis. And once you're in cirrhosis, it's too late. What the direct route to fatty liver, that's a direct route to fatty liver, is basically nutritional overload. Now, of course, there are other components to it. This is kind of like the straight, A to B. Let's talk about some of the other players here besides the carb overload or the nutrition overload. Surprise, surprise, it turns out that the microbiome, the gut, also has to do with fatty liver. Why? Because the microbiome has to do with everything, right? Because it turns out things are connected in your body. It's a crazy concept. Anyway, so if you have imbalances in your gut, it impacts your liver. Why? Because, like I said, everything is connected. So in case you've been sleeping and this is your first podcast you've ever seen of mine, you need to go catch up with what my microbiome is. But here's the Cliff Notes version. You have an entire world living in your gut. It's called the microbiome. It's got good bacteria, bad bacteria. And it's really important that this world is in balance. And when things aren't good there, when your microbiome is off, it causes inflammation. Now remember, everything I just said about fatty liver with the nutrition and the fat and the overload, Now, if you add inflammation to it, you just took this process and put it on heat. That inflammation makes the liver issue worse. So the gut dysbiosis, the microbiome issue, is going to worsen your fatty liver. Now, there's also environmental causes, because we're going to have this situation, carb overload, nutrition. Now, what if we add to it? What if we make the liver work really hard? What if we add a little bit of alcohol to it, or some medications, or some, or Tylenol, or anything else that the liver has to now work hard detoxing? Any type of environmental causes. This is going to make it so much harder, right? We're already dealing with carb overload. We're already dealing with this fat. We're already dealing with the inflammation of your gut dysbiosis. Now you're actually asking the liver to work even harder as you're processing all these things that you don't need. You're giving it toxins. So you're making it harder and harder to heal. So you could see that you have this nutritional piece, but getting your gut right and getting like your toxin load right is also part of it. So the next question is, how do I tell if I have a fatty liver if you say it has no symptoms? So as I said earlier, if your liver enzymes are elevated in your blood work, well, then you already know you have an issue, because that's kind of a late stage finding. So if your AST, your ALT, your GGT are elevated, you already know you're in a situation. Okay, so you need to like hurry up and listen to this on double speed and start implementing. But as I said, these tests can be normal for a really long time. So now you have to look at what other things can I maybe look at in my test that will let me know that something's cooking, right? So glucose, if your A1C is off, your insulin is off. If this is off, remember I said it's a carb overload. So if I have my A1C is high, I have pre-diabetic, I could start thinking I'm probably on my way to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, even though my liver enzymes are fine. Remember I said when you have glucose overload, your body's going to start packaging it in triglycerides. So if my lipid panel is not looking so cute, my cholesterol panel is not looking so cute, my triglycerides are high, I should start thinking maybe I have fatty liver. And of course, inflammation markers. If you have high CRP, that's an inflammatory marker. So if that's high, are we dealing with some inflammation, which we just said can affect the liver, right? So if we have these other peripheral tests coming up positive, you should start thinking, hey, maybe my liver is not doing so well. But remember, even if your tests come back normal, don't think you're off the hook, because everything can be normal for a while. So if you're not on point with your nutrition, even if your blood work's coming back fine, I need you to start thinking about it, right? Now, the definitive way to 100% know if you have fatty liver is ultrasound. They measure it, they measure how big it is, they measure the fat deposits on it, and that's really the only way to tell. But like I said, if you have other things going on, you can start making assumptions. But the great news is that fatty liver is reversible at most stages, right? Not those end stages. But there's so much we can do to reverse it. Just like we caused it, we can reverse it. So what do we do? The very first thing you're going to want to do is just lower your processed carbs. Now, don't come at me with, hey, broccoli is a carb. You know I'm not talking about broccoli. That's not what I'm talking about. Eventually, somebody on TikTok will say, everything's a carb, even vegetables. I know. I'm not worried about you overloading on broccoli, okay? I'm worried about the junky, high fructose corn syrup, right? Like the junky food, the junky processed foods. And by the way, quick talk about high fructose corn syrup. Yes, fructose is not bad. Fructose by itself, it's in fruit. It's amazing. We need fructose. We're not talking about fructose. We're talking about high fructose corn syrup, which is a chemical way to pack so much fructose per like teaspoon that makes it really, really super sweet. And the real issue here is that we're not designed to process that much fructose or any type like that type of level in one sitting. Okay. So you would never eat that many fruits. So sometimes people say, how could you say high fructose is bad for you? It's found in fruit. Sure. A normal amount is found in fruit, but high fructose corn syrup packs an abnormal amount into your sweets, your soft drinks, even some juices that are made from real juice. Okay, I digress. But what I'm talking about is not broccoli, okay? I'm talking about the junky stuff. Anything like that, high fructose corn syrup, processed foods that's making your liver work really hard. It's too much at one sitting, and now your liver has to package it, like I said earlier. So what do you have to do? You have to become a savvy label reader. Check your ingredients, the food you buy. If high fructose corn syrup is on there, put it back on the shelf. You'd be surprised. It's not just in your snacks. It's in salad dressing. It's in tomato sauce. It's everywhere. Like, just take a look at your labels. Now, it's not just enough to eliminate. So many of you are really good with elimination. You know how to like not eat the thing, and that's awesome. But you also have to add the good stuff in. You have to consciously put in the high antioxidants, the high anti-inflammatory food in there. Because to heal the body, yes, you remove the bad stuff, but you also have to put in the good stuff. Swap out the processed foods for healthier choices. All of this can make a big impact on your liver health. And the other thing is, don't run away from fats. People say fatty liver, maybe I should be low fat. No, 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 no. Okay. Of course, I mean the good fat, not the French fry fat, but the good fats. You need your avocados, your olive oil, your seeds, your nuts. Don't run away from fats. Those are really, really important, anti-inflammatory. So fill your plate with anti-inflammatory foods, the leafy vegetables, the kale, the cabbage, the collard greens, the cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. Put oil on it. Put some nuts on it. This is the stuff that we need. And of course, you could throw some more antioxidants in it, the garlic, the onions that help you detox. And you want to also add protein in there. Protein at every meal is really important because it helps balance your sugar and insulin. And we know this is a sugar and insulin problem. It also helps you cut craving when you put proteins in there. So put protein in there, your nuts, your seeds, your eggs, your fish, all of that. So that's your nutrition. But you also need to move. Physical activity is a key player in the game to reverse or prevent fatty liver. It's not about joining the craziest CrossFit, gym situation or becoming a marathon runner. It's about movement. And if you notice, I really try not to say the word exercise. I just want you to move. Whatever movement means for you, just move a little bit more, okay? Because everyone is at a different place and there is no way, the right way to do it. Just move a little bit more than you did yesterday and you're going to be on the right track. When you move, so much happens in your body. It's more than weight loss. It reduces inflammation, improves insulin sensitivity, helps break down fat, lowers cholesterol and triglycerides. All of that helps your fatty liver. So just move, please. Now, there's one other step I want to discuss when it comes to liver health, and we've never discussed before, and it's called methylation. And you may have heard of this or Googled it. Let me just break it down a little bit what methylation is and why it's important here for fatty liver. And if this is too complex for you, feel free to skip these next few seconds. So methylation, it's a process in your liver that helps remove toxins and waste from your body. So when your liver detoxes, its job is to package the chemicals and the toxins in a way that the body can ship out. And it does that by taking the thing and adding a methyl group to it. That's what methylation means. You just add a methyl group to it. So you take the toxin, you add a methyl group to it. That makes it water soluble, and then your body can get rid of it in urine or feces. This methylation process is the way the liver gets rid of toxins and waste products, right? So remember, fatty liver is not, it's this whole carb overload, but we also don't want to add too much toxins because it's working too hard. Now, this is only one of the ways the liver does this. The liver does it in many ways, but let's just start with methylation. So if there is something that's in the way of this methylation process, the liver is going to end up stuck with a whole bunch of stuff it can't get rid of. Right? The ability to methylate is connected to fatty liver, right? Because if the liver cannot methylate well, if it can't get rid of the junk, it leads to more and more fat accumulation in the liver, fatty liver. So you need methylation to help with all this. So when the liver is properly methylating, adding that methyl group, it's detoxing. It's helping insulin resistance. It's fighting oxidative stress all at the same time. But if the liver is having trouble methylating, it's going to contribute to fatty liver. So what do you do to optimize methylation and take the strain off your liver? First, stop adding toxins like alcohol and anything unnecessary. That would be very lovely. And of course, a balanced diet. But there's also some specific nutrients that are needed to help methylate: folate, B6, B12. You can get it in your food, your leafy greens, your fish, your lentils, your asparagus, but you can also get it in your supplements. So I want you to find supplements that help you methylate, helps your liver along. So while we're on the topic of supplements, I always like to give you a few supplements. But I always like to let you know, a little warning, supplements are supplemental. They are not instead of doing the whole thing. They're just an additional kind of bonus on top of doing the nutrition and movement. Number 1, milk thistle. Milk thistle is a natural herb that's been used for centuries in traditional medicine, particularly in treating problems related to liver and gallbladder. It has so many compounds in it that make a difference to your liver. The active ingredient in milk thistle is silmarin, and it's protective for your liver by producing new cell growth and decreasing inflammation. So we want milk thistle on our shelf if we're dealing with fatty liver. Curcumin. Curcumin is found in turmeric, and that is the spice found in a lot of curry dishes. Curcumin is super anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and it can tone down liver inflammation. Now remember, it's supplements, so don't go out and party and then think having some turmeric on your food is going to get rid of it. That's not how it works. So it tones down the liver inflammation. Probiotics, because remember we talked about the gut-liver connection earlier, right? Gut-liver. So we have to make sure we got good bacteria in our gut because that's going to help our fatty liver. NAC, N-acetylcysteine, NAC. NAC is a powerful supplement that helps fight fatty liver because it's an amino acid that helps you make glutathione, and glutathione is magic. If you've watched any of my TikToks or other episodes, glutathione is magic, helps fight inflammation, protects the liver. So NAC supplements is a really good, clever way to increase your glutathione levels. And then your B vitamins, because we just discussed earlier that B helps you methylate, but B1, B2, B3, 6, 9, 12, they all have really specific things that they help with the liver as well. So you want to get in on that. So quick recap. Fatty liver happens when liver cells get replaced by fat cells. So this, right? And we don't want that because then they can't function as liver cells. This means that fat is stored in your liver and it's causing your liver not to work well. And this happens from nutrition. And remember, this takes time to happen, and you might not even know that you have it because there are no symptoms. So you have to pay attention to what's going on. Fatty liver is reversible in its early stage, so you have to be super proactive with your help. And if you want to work with us, you just find us on the New Method on basically any single platform because we're everywhere, or thenewmethod.com. And I look forward to hearing from you. And thank you for being here because you always knew there was a better way. I'll see you soon.